Alright guys, so today I'm talking. Well guys, it's been a while. This is the first video I'm recording of actually 2025. Not that I haven't attempted to, it's just finding time to do it. It's been a little scarce lately. A couple changes, things here and there, so here we are. And here's the car. So, a couple changes, other than the obvious. We actually upgraded cooling fans. This is a really nice Proform unit, 3300 CFM or whatever. Really works. A lot more CFM than the last fan. Nothing really wrong with it, but being that since we turboed it, I've been noticing that at idle, it'll get warm and it'll get up to about 205, 210-ish. And that was making me nervous. Technically speaking, that's what they should idle at stock, but I don't want to idle there. So I put the bigger fan in and it pulls a lot more air. So that's good. Fixed that. The other thing we fixed was the style points. Had to fix it. As you know, I've been running these aluminum wheels for a while and decided to upgrade to some 15x4 center lines. I actually bought them secondhand from another guy that went to Duct Tape Drags last year in 2024. So that was cool. You know, he was able to help me out and get me a good deal on these wheels at the swap meet locally, so that was cool. And that kind of brings us up to date. Now, why I'm taking the engine apart again is the car started misfiring a couple days ago, and it sounded like it was the passenger side bank. And I messed with the coils and the wires and nothing fixed it, and it started to sound something more lifter slash valve train wise. So being that it was missing and being that it sounded like it wasn't going to be something I could fix externally, I knew that the last piece on this car that was unreliable, at least in the engine, was the lifters that I used. Initially when I put this engine together, it was on a super tight budget. I didn't have very much money at all to be doing this. I really shouldn't have been, but I did. And I should have known, since I put a cheap cam in it, and the lifters were the cheapest Rock Auto lifters you could get that were the newer LS7 style. So now I get to take the whole thing apart and change the lifters and hopefully take the cylinder heads and possibly get those machined in a timely fashion. I know it will be relative to what I'm doing, but I'd like to be back in the car as soon as possible. Okay, I'm impatient in that regard, but I know that it's going to be for the better, so I'm cool with waiting. Yeah, so dumped all the coolant. Oil's still in it. I'm not going to dump the oil. That stuff's still relatively new. But I'm down to just the cylinder heads on the block, and then we'll be down to the short block. This should be fairly simple. I already kind of checked to see that I could put a torque wrench in that space there where the bottom cylinder head bolts are, so that I can torque them when I go back to reassemble. And I plan on taking this valley cover plate off and repainting it and just freshening some things up. In general, I was pretty hasty putting this thing together, and a couple things could be nicer. So that's the plan, is to right my wrongs, basically, from when I assembled it. Some things I've learned along the way, you know, to make it nicer, more serviceable, you know, try and clean up some more spaghetti, ideally. And yeah, just move forward. So I'm just going to put you guys on the tripod and start ripping heads off. Put you guys in real speed here. If you're ever messing with an LS, and basically everyone has at this point, but just for reference, if you have stock valve covers, they're number 8mm bolts. For these 4 bolts, take off the valve cover itself. And the coil mount bolts are 10s. this point, got all 4 loose. Alright. We're all loose, valve cover can come off. Well, that wasn't a good seal. Usually the grommets don't fall out. That's not what you want. Take this, put it on the table. Inside of the valve cover still looks brand new basically, because this car, it has miles on it, but it's not nearly as many as a regular street car or a truck that would have originally had this motor. You can see that there's no baffle in this either. That's already been removed a long time ago. So that's cool. So the LS's use a shaft rocker, or kind of a it's weird. It's got a pedestal mounted roller rocker trunnion. Not the best description, but that's what it is. And as you loosen all of these rockers, they should all be. That one doesn't feel so hot. That? Oh no, they all move. Yeah, they all move a little bit. Okay, that's probably normal. That one's not moving, probably because it's actually got tension on the lifter. Alright. But no real up and down movement, meaning that the lifter probably hasn't collapsed on this side. Doesn't guarantee it hasn't. That's kind of why I'm changing them, because it's been in the back of my mind this entire time. And I just realized I need a 12-point socket for 8mm bolts, which I am not sure I even have. So that's not ideal. I'll be back shortly. I have the illustrious 8mm 12-point socket to loosen my rocker arms, so that's good. And it isn't 3/8 drive, which is good, because I'm pretty sure a 1/4 inch would probably just explode. Alright. Am I going to do this in any particular order? Not really, no. So, let's just start from the front. Oh boy, those are tight. Those are real tight. Oh, good God. So, funny thing, when we put this BTR cam in, I had Robbie help me, and we didn't take the heads off. Doing this sucks, and we did that in the middle of the summer. Like, that was like June or something when we did that. That was a terrible idea, but yeah. Okay. So when you lift, you're going to want to rotate towards the engine, and then your tray will keep all your rockers in line as long as the bolts remain in it. So you can kind of see here. So this keeps them all in order. And I'm going to place this in my passenger side valve cover. That way I know that this goes into the passenger side of the engine. So we'll do that. Okay, got that. The other thing is now I got to make sure that all my push rods stay in relatively the same spot. They're going to be mated to the rocker still in that spot, but the lifter's going to change. So how much that matters, I don't really know, if it matters at all. None of them look real damaged or anything. It's got some wear on the rocker side, and the lifter side's got a little ring on it from where it's been touching, but nothing crazy. These are actually some really nice 7400 80 thousandths wall BTR push rods that they make, and they seem perfectly straight. None of them, I don't think I ever had any issues with valve events that way, so I'm not too concerned about it. But what I will do is when I lay them out, I'm going to lay them in the same direction that they came out in. So whether I keep them straight, I don't know. You know, this isn't a precision thing, at least not for what I'm doing. But I do know silvery tips go up. And if I forget, I'll watch this video. Nothing looks crazy, which is nice. I'm gonna clean these obviously before I reassemble. That one's a little higher than the rest. Let's see why. None of these look damaged though, they all look perfectly fine, so I'm not too concerned about that. Lay these on the table. Okay, and once those are out, all that's left is to remove all the head bolts. But before that, I'm just gonna rip apart the other side and get that knocked out. That way I'm at the same step on both sides. Boy, that's tight. Oh, wow. So, not necessarily but I'm just starting to get up. I've been learning more and more with not having a hood that as I have more and more fasteners, I need to use a little more WD-40 to keep things from galling when I go to install or remove. And it looks like I had the foresight to use some steel reusable port fittings on that, so that's nice. These are the little stock style steel or aluminum gaskets. They're nice, I'm gonna reuse those. Take those out of both sides. The old spaghetti monster wants to get in the way. Top tip for any Allen key or any bit type fastener: make sure you have a well-fitting and deep enough tool to remove it. No innuendo, just be smart. Makes your life way easier. You can tell now how much garbage has gone into these ports, being that there's been basically no filter the entire time. They're all black with dirt and random garbage, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. That time the gasket didn't come off for me, so I'll probably have to order another set, but I'll have time. This stuff doesn't get turned around in a day as far as I know, so it'll be a little bit before I actually get to assembly. So that's what the gasket looks like. It doesn't look crazy, but I think you can definitely tell that it was uneven still. The emboss is gone on one side and the other side it's still there. It doesn't look like I ever had any head gasket issues. It's just dirty, which is fine. I'm not crazy about that. Head gasket held up just fine as far as I can tell. So that's cool. Nothing really crazy with the pistons that I can see. As you pump them and get some of this water out.